What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be putting on all the parts, hopefully, that we outlined the day before yesterday. So let me kind of show you where we're going to be starting out. So the first thing we're going to work on is probably, in my opinion, the most needed upgrade on this car, which is the suspension. So I'm just going to walk you through some of the basic steps of where we're going to have to be disconnecting everything. We've got the 3 bolts here, which for the strut top mounts. The one that's recessed in there will be what we'll use when we actually take apart the strut and the spring, get the top hat off. So that's there. These cars are a little bit different than most newers, where it's a little bit more labor intensive to get this off. So you can see that's where it goes up, coming down through here. Normally you just have like 2 bolts here on the strut, and then everything comes up pretty easily. With cars like this that are older, everything's in the knuckle, so we will have to take off the brake caliper, just swing it out of the way. If you look here, it's all one piece. So we'll take off the ball joints down here underneath, disconnect that from the bottom here. If you can see that, yep, there you go. Do the same thing over here on this side. You can see where that's going. And then this whole entire thing will come off. The rotor will be attached to the spindle, the knuckle, the whole thing will come out. We'll take the spring out, put the new spring in. We will have to remove this nut here. The struts that we have are inserts for the front, so we will end up breaking that loose. That will come off, and then we will be able to drain all the gas, well, whatever's left of the gas that's inside this thing. Pull out the strut that's in there, see what condition, if at all, it's usable. So we'll take care of that. And then while we're in here, you can see this is the end link, which is completely worn out. You can see the bushings are gone. Rattles around when you've got the car on the ground. Just gonna see if I can replicate it. So we'll go ahead and replace those 2 while we're here. Tie rods and everything are in pretty good shape. We'll leave those for now, but we'll just be starting here. All right, we got the first side out. We had a little bit of a trouble just getting things moved out of the way. I had to pull the hacksaw out. I always forget that there is a brake line bracket here. So it's normally you have to disconnect the brake lines, but I just leave them on and just kind of cut that bracket a little bit so you can move it out of the way and pull that line out. Other than that, just had to go ahead and disconnect this end link so I could get another inch or so of movement on that lower control arm. And then just with a little bit of finagling, this thing did come out. You can see the whole thing here, just as described. It's fairly heavy with everything on it, so it makes it kind of fun to pull out. This car is so incredibly dusty and rusty. This floor was clean before I started, and just moving stuff off, you can see how much dust there is just from all the dirt and rust and everything else. It's just been kind of collecting over time. So yeah, let's get this thing apart and start pulling the spring out. All right, for this portion, I always recommend having some sort of a vice grip, like a table mounted vice grip here, or if you have a second person, that always helps. Now, the best way to do this is to actually use a spring compressor, which will hold everything down. You basically clip it on here and it keeps the springs from flying off. I'm skipping that portion. I've done that plenty of times. When you just do use an impact on a spring like this, these don't have a ton of pressure behind them. And I can actually kind of move them around myself, and there's not a ton of weight behind it. I also have it angled away. This is a 19mm socket on the top here. If you have an impact, this is really easy. If you don't have an impact, you're going to hate life, just because this strut will spin forever. Let me see if I can just show you. So a lot of times once you get this going, that strut will spin inside the casing. But we're just going to stick it on here with the impact, which should pull it right off. So let's just see what happens. Yeah. And there goes the spring coming off. You can see it's kind of like a jack in the box there. All right, so we got the old spring off. We will finagle this thing with the new setup. There's the dust boot for the strut. Let's just see how blown these struts really are. This is the first time that I've compressed these by hand. Let's see. Yes. So normally when you push this down, it should decompress and come right back out. But yeah, that's not happening. In fact, I can do this with my pinky. You can just kind of push it down. No real effort behind it. So yeah, this is what a blown strut looks like. Anything that we put in here is going to be an upgrade. You can kind of hear it. I don't even know if there's a lot of oil left. I'm pretty sure most of it's leaked out the seal here. So next thing we're going to do is grab a pair of pliers and we'll stick it here on this collar, unscrew this collar, everything comes out. All right, so last step for getting this thing out, like I said, was removing this gland nut or whatever it's called. So you have to use, I don't know the size of that thing, but this is a 14-inch pipe wrench. This is kind of what you'll need to use. If you've got a channel lock, that'll work as well. You just have to get that on there. And then I think I loosen this. Let's see if I can get this to spin one-handed. Yeah, there we go. So I will finish taking that off the rest of the way. And then I've got a drain bucket. I'll throw that in. And then we'll go ahead and put everything back together. All right, we got it all back together. Everything fit together pretty smooth. Now we'll see what happens when we get everything back on. Update, got the front struts and springs in. Also did the end links, which you can see right there. These are the adjustable ones. I got to get that socket unstuck, which is always fun. But got those in on both sides. Fun story is this first side that I did. I was not paying attention, was in a rush, and actually used the wrong spring. I thought that there was something that was a little bit different with the fitment. So I checked the other springs. Sure enough, the spring I was looking for was upside down in the box. So pulled that back out, pulled this back out, swapped the spring back. That side's good. Just finished up with the rear springs. No rear strut install on this one. This one's super easy for the most part. So all you've really got involved in rear springs on these cars is this is a 14mm bolt with a washer on it. That comes off, and then depending on how rusty and nasty your car is, yours may be easier than mine. But ideally, this whole strut just slides off like a pin, like a dowel. Mine did not just slide off. I had to coax it off with pickle fork, hammer, and some PB. And then the PB was to help put it back on. But once you do from there is you just kind of push down on the drum or the disc on the rear here, just enough where you can pull the spring out sideways. And then you just wedge it back in there. If you've got really crazy lowering springs, then you would need to cut out some of those bump stops. But on my car, I don't think it's going to be needed, so I just left those how they are. Eventually, we will replace this rear strut as well, as I'm sure it's blown, maybe not as bad as the front, but it didn't fit inside the budget, and I wasn't sure if they were even going to match. So I'll have to come back and address that later. So now we'll just do the other side and then put it down on the ground. Alrighty, got the car back together, finished up the rear suspension. This is the new side profile of the car. The spring said they were 2-inch drop. It's possible. I mean, I can definitely tell it's a little bit lowered. It's hard to tell though when the front struts and springs are so saggy. I'd be willing to bet that it's probably 1 inch or so lower than it was before I started. Meaning that if I had just replaced the front struts, it probably would have raised the front end. This is where it's at. I also got a chance to at least bolt up my Super JDM Super Initial D fog lamps. They're not wired yet, so that'll come later. So thanks for watching this suspension install here. We didn't get everything done that we wanted to. I still have the window regulator to do. I still have front wheel bearings to do. Still have clutch, master and slave cylinder. So there's still a little bit of work left. This rest that will just have to come in time. Today was the only chance that I had for a garage that was indoor because it's cold and kind of rainy today. So just stay tuned. I will probably be fixing the window regulator next, as that's just a really pain in the butt to have broken right now. So I'll fix that, put the door card on, put the new window arms on, so that way the interior is complete again. And then next time I get garage space, which will probably be after Christmas, I'll finish up with the wheel bearings and at least the clutch master and slave, so that stops leaking. I stop having to add fluid. So thanks again for watching. I hope you guys liked it. I hope it was informative for you. Stay tuned for more. Feel free to like the video, subscribe, all that kind of normal YouTube stuff. Thanks. Bye.